what's up everyone? This year I participated in my first game jam ever, and it was Brackeys Game Jam 2024.2. For anyone who doesn't know what a game jam is an event where you only have a limited amount of time to create a game that also fits a certain theme. And this theme will of course be first revealed at the start of the event. You can either participate as a team or go in solo like I did. For Brackeys Game Jam I had 7 days to finish up my game, and the theme I had to incorporate was Calm Before the Storm. So in this video I'm going to show you my process of making my game, as well as my experience during the jam, and hopefully encourage you all to also participate in a game jam one day. Because although it was a crushing experience at some point, in the end I was proud of what I have accomplished. So let's start with how I landed in the top 8% in Brackeys Game Jam 2024.2. It's Sunday 12 PM CEST, the beginning of the event and the reveal of the theme Calm Before the Storm. And I was like, okay, let's go. But my brain was like, nothing. I didn't want to create something literal, but more an interpretation of the theme, but nothing useful came to my mind. Absolutely nothing. Is this my limit? Was pursuing the GameDev life a silly dream? A mistake? After some self-doubt later, and after realizing that my creative mind just refused to cooperate with me, I called it quits for the day and decided to watch The Bear. And that's where it hit me. After watching the main characters of the show scream at each other for an entire episode, I had an idea. I'm going to make a game about a young blackbird chef who wants to become a master gourmet chef. In its free time, our chef invents new dishes. But when the restaurant opens, it has to get ready to feed waves of hungry customers that storm the restaurant. So we will have 2 phases in our game. A calm phase where we invent new dishes in a chill manner, and a storm phase where we serve these dishes to our very hungry customers. And I'll call it The Blackbird Master Gourmet Chef. Nice! Now that we have a premise that incorporates a theme, let's actually design the game. Now, what I always do when working on my projects, I create a storyboard for my game. So for gameplay, I thought about creating a typing game, where the player has to learn new dishes by typing the name letter for letter in the calm phase. The ingredients of the dish are basically the letters you have to press. Each time you press a letter that is shown on screen, Chef Blackbird will go to the ingredient and throw it in a pot. And when you have pressed all the needed letters, you have created a new dish. Okay, and after 3 new dishes, we transition to the storm phase through a cutscene, where a blackbird chef gets surprised by storming in customers. Now we would have to serve them. Each customer will have a speech bubble showing what dish they want to eat. You then have to fastly type the dish and press enter to serve them. Why fastly? Because each customer has a patience meter, and when that runs out, our customer will leave unsatisfied, which will sadly break our small chef's heart. And after 3 heartbreaks, it's game over. And that's it. Now you only have to survive the opening hours to finish the storm phase, and then again return to the calm phase to create new and more difficult dishes. And with that, we've designed our gameplay loop. Now my next step was to sketch out all the graphical assets I'm going to need. I decided to have a mix of 2D and 3D objects. I wanted my art style to be 2D characters in a 3D environment. Okay, and now I could finally start creating the actual game. I opened up Unity and decided to create the storm phase first, because this would be the most fun aspect of my game, serving customers under pressure. For that, I first implemented a simple customer spawner that just spawned some placeholder customers with placeholder dish requests, which were just quickly drawn with my mouse in Paint, and also added a way to capture my keyboard inputs and display them directly on screen. For that, I used Unity's input system and used the onText input event. This is an event that is fired for every single character entered on the keyboard. So to use that, we add an onText input function to this event that has a character input as a parameter. So that each time a character is entered on the keyboard, the onText input function is called and gets the entered character as an input. Now in our onText input function, we first check if our character is a letter. If so, we transform it into an uppercase letter and add it to the dish string, which we will then display on screen via a GUI text. If our character is \B, which is a so-called escape sequence for our backspace key, then we delete the newest letter from our dish string. And in the end, if we press enter, represented by \R, we will serve our food, which is not yet implemented. Okay, now that we have our gameplay foundation, let's create the actual game. So for that, I added a placeholder chef, a timer, a score, and placeholder hearts, which are cats here. And that is because... Next, instead of just spawning the customers on screen, I spawn them off screen and let them run in with a small up and down motion to show how hectic and hungry they are. Also added 2 empty game objects that serve as boundaries for our customers, so that when they enter the screen, they only move between these 2 game objects. Afterwards, I implemented a serving of our customers. When we press enter, we first try to serve a dish. If we succeed, our customer will fly off with the food and will get points. If not, meaning we mistyped or entered a dish that is not on screen, we lose points. Great, now I just needed to add the patience meter that shows how much patience each customer has, and implement that when the patience runs out, our customer will furiously fly in the air, still shouting the dish they so desperately desired, resulting in the removal of one of our 3 hearts that we have. Nice, and with that we have our storm phase. Now to complete the theme Calm Before the Storm, we need a calm phase where the player will learn new dishes. So for that I created a new scene with a placeholder stove, some placeholder ingredients, and a placeholder pot. But to have a bit of eye candy for me, I already drew our Blackbird chef to use in this scene, because I didn't want to use our placeholder chef anymore. Nothing against you, buddy. Then I drew all the letters I needed and implemented the dish learning routine by spawning each letter of the new dish one by one, and waiting for the player to press the correct letter shown on screen. With each correct letter, I show a short animation of our chef grabbing the next ingredient and putting it in a pot, and then proceed with the next dish until we learned all the dishes for this level. And that's it. We basically created all the parts needed for our game. Now we need to combine them, think about how many levels and words we're going to need, replace the placeholders with nice assets, add music and sound effects, and fine-tune everything to create a round experience. Okay, so let's go. My idea was to create 3 levels and an endless mode. Each level will introduce 3 new dishes that our player has to learn in the calm phase and master them in the storm phase. For the difficulty of each level, I decided to use shorter words for the lower levels and longer words for the higher one. But that's not all. In addition to increasing the word size of each level, I decided to change the language in each level. So we have English, Italian and German. When the player finishes all 3 levels, they beat the game and unlock endless mode, where all the 9 dishes will be present in the storm phase. Great. Then I decided to create nearly all the 2D and 3D assets I was going to need, put them in a game, combine the 2 phases, add a game over screen, and with that I was nearly done with my game. Nice. Happy with my progress, I decided to call it a day, because it was already past midnight and I wanted to wake up early on Saturday to have enough time to work on my game, and maybe get some sleep afterwards, before the submission ends on Sunday 12 PM. Little did I know that after waking up I would have to work on my game for 27 hours straight without sleep to finish it on time, but more on that later. Okay, so on Saturday I implemented endless mode and displayed the current dishes of a level in the top left corner like a today's menu sort of thing. Then I added some trees in the background and a background for the ingredients the player types in. Afterwards I reworked the spawning algorithm of our customers, added sound effects, and recorded some voiceovers with my family for when the player creates a new dish or finishes the game. Yay!
Woo! Yeah! Nice!
And I also added a way to reset the whole game if you like. Then I created some additional assets and animations for when the player learns a new dish, added some transition effects when transitioning from one phase to another, and even added a small cutscene at the beginning of our first storm phase. Nice, now all we are missing is some music and we are finally done. So I searched up some music and found a chill one for our calm phase, and a hard rock one for our storm phase. And both are from the Unity Asset Store. One was free, and the other one was from an asset pack I bought some time ago. Nice. I had downloaded a package manager, and one really short hour later, I added the music to my game and I was done. My game was finally completed. Yay! Thank you.
Nice!
I looked at my phone and I saw that it's already Sunday, 6 AM. And I thought to myself, well, at least I can get some sleep before the submission ends. Yeah, I wouldn't count on that. After building my project and playtesting my build, I went to itch.io and finally submitted my game as a download version for Windows. I don't know what hit me, but instead of going to bed, I wanted to check out what others had already submitted. And I saw that all the games I checked out would run in the browser. So I looked up online if that's recommended or not. And I found a Reddit post that basically said, yeah, only a fraction of people will play your game if it's download only. So I had to change it. I headed back to Unity and changed the target platform to WebGL, which took ages. But that's totally my fault, because I still had the 18 gigs of music in my project instead of just taking 2 songs I ended up using and deleting the rest. So importing took a lot of time. Then, after the platform was changed, I playtested my game in the editor to see if everything was working correctly, and then went on and built my project. Here I made my second mistake. I chose runtime speed with LTO instead of just shorter build time, because on the documentation I read that it will boost the runtime performance at the expense of taking a longer time to build. Oh come on, how long are you going to link to something? And that's not all. After finally uploading a browser version to itch.io and playtesting it to see if everything works correctly, I realized that the game is broken. I cannot delete any letters or even serve dishes. My inputs are not registered. Okay, back to Unity. After a bit of debugging, I came to the conclusion that apparently escape sequences do not work in my WebGL build. So I removed them and just used the was pressed this frame bool value to check if enter or backspace was pressed this frame, which I now check and update instead of on text input. Oh, and one final tip. If you compile your WebGL version and your game suddenly looks bad, then check your project settings if you enabled the high fidelity quality options for your WebGL build and maybe set it to default. And finally, after all this, I uploaded my WebGL build, confirmed that it works, added some screenshots and a thumbnail, and I'm finally done. At 11:45 AM, or 15 minutes before the submission ends. Two weeks had passed, and after playing a lot of awesome submitted games, as well as rating and commenting them, the results are finally in. And I'm 108th of 1468 ranked games. Yeah! And technically I'm 107th, because rank 1 was disqualified. Thank you all who have played my game during the rating period and left a comment and a feedback. I really appreciate it. And even though it was a really tough week, especially the last 2 days, I'm really happy to have made a game that people had fun playing. Thank you all for making it a great first Game Jam experience for me. And thank you all for being here and watching until the end. I hope you liked this video, and if so, it would really make me happy if you give it a thumbs up. And if you like, maybe give me some feedback on how you like this style of video. It's a bit different than usual. And I hope to see you all again in my next video. So until then, ciao. Hey, welcome to the outro. Today I brought some tutorials for you. For example this one on how to make a magical repair effect in Unity, or a bunch of other tutorials that you can check out here. And if you're interested in checking out my Game Jam game, I left the itch.io link in the video description, as well as some links of the other submitted games I liked. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you have a great day, and maybe we see each other in one of the future Game Jams or in a future video. So, see you around. Bye bye!